So last time we built a chat app. It was longer than expected. So we spent nearly 3 hours building an app from scratch. We started with Adobe XD. We then moved from Adobe XD to Flutter. We did some introduction. And then we talked about stateless and stateful widget. We built a UI for the app. And after that, we moved to Firebase. And then we also tried to use a provider pattern. So we introduced a new pattern to actually make your apps better and more readable. Everything is on, it was recorded, so it's online. So you guys can go and check that out. I've created a playlist for you guys to go through it. So there is like part 1, 2, and 3. So the first one is about how did we do it on Adobe XD. And then part 2 is basically building a basic app. Part 3 was using provider and Firebase. So that's something you guys can follow. Now, it was good because after we recorded it, I got lots of insights and feedback. People actually went online and followed what we did and got some feedback. So what I did is basically this link, which we had, I went in and added a bit more information. So I'm going to show you guys. I think I may have to. So the codelab is updated now. So initially the codelab was just going through the basic skeleton of a Flutter project and building the chat screen. Now what we have also done is we actually, me and Martin went in and we added everything to do with Firebase. The starting point of the app, the code is all working code, so you can actually follow through and then build the authentication and login screen. So all the code. So this is the feedback which I got. And I think I had an overwhelming feedback from people saying, I would like to basically use this app. And they followed the videos and there were some places where it wasn't clear. So what we did is we actually put the whole thing online. Yeah, and you can just go through that chapter by chapter in your own spare time. In the end, you would be basically getting a screen that looks like what we have here. Yeah, so you will have a screen which is like a chat app. The GitHub is also updated, and going to present this again. Yeah, so the GitHub link is also updated, and the code is also updated. So it was interesting. So after I gave it, I was actually doing some sparring, some mentoring for a few people who sent me an email because it was out there online on how they were building the app and what they were trying to do. So they were all learning Flutter. So some of the guys said, hey, Sumith, I like your setup, your Visual Studio Code. So I use Visual Studio Code, and they were kind of interested in how I set it up. So I thought I will start this today's talk with very quick, what extensions do I have, and then pass it back to Rafa. So when you're working with Flutter, definitely you will have the Flutter and Dart extension. I'm going to show if you don't have. Yeah, so what you do is basically you go to Visual Studio, you click on your extensions, and then you look for Flutter and Dart. Yeah. And then what you get is basically you get either the Dart extensions. Yeah. So the first thing Flutter needs is a Dart extension. So if you install Flutter, you automatically get the Dart extension. So one thing which is surprising, a lot of people don't know, is with the Flutter extension, it also supports a preview version of the grid lines. So to view the preview version of the grid line, technically, if you look into any of your Flutter files, yeah. So let's say I have a chat screen, and I do not have the grid lines here. Yeah. And it's by default off. Yeah, for some reason they left it off. So what you do is basically you go in, and then in the settings, you basically open the settings and look for GRIT. Yeah. So over here, this needs to be checked and that. And then next time when you open your Visual Studio Code, you will get those guidelines. So these lines will start appearing. So that's the most important if you are using Flutter and Visual Studio, which we actually, when we asked everyone, they said, yes, we do that. It's one of the key thing of our Visual Studio that you need to use. The next bit is, sorry, my presentation is under the screen. So next bit is a bit more visual. And so I kind of put that as my visual stuff. Yeah. And though that is the material theme. So for Visual Studio, if you look into how my Visual Studio looks like, and they were like, okay, that looks very cool. What have you done? Yeah. So basically, I'm using two special extension. One is material icon and material theme. Yeah. So material theme basically gives Visual Studio the material theme look, and then you can actually use another setting to turn it into the dark mode, which I'm using here. And then if you noticed my icons, they are not out of the box Visual Studio. Out of the box Visual Studio icons are very bland, and this looks a bit more, okay, it makes more meaning around what you're trying to do. And you can actually create your own custom icon. And that comes from the material icon theme. Yeah. So this actually gives you some designed, predefined icons so that when you are actually looking at your code, it's not a basic simple folder. It gives you exactly a kind of a clue on what this contains, this particular folder contains. So that's the material icon theme. The next bit is mostly around productivity. So to improve your productivity within Flutter, I use Flutter Awesome Snippets. So again, same thing, you go to Visual Studio, you search for Flutter Awesome. And then what it gives us is basically, I like it and I use it a lot. Is whenever you're trying to do a stream builder or a list view builder or stateless widget, although out of the box Flutter SDK comes with the stateless and stateful, but it actually gives more. It gives like a shortcut to create a list view builder while you're in the code. So you don't have to write the entire boilerplate code to basically start with your list view builder. Same for layout builder. And I like the one which is mostly around streaming. Yeah? So you can actually say str, and then you get the entire stream builder code set up for you. So it's a very good snippet. I think they are still adding stuff to it. So definitely try to use that in your Flutter toolkit. The next one is in Flutter, we use a lot of brackets. Yeah, so basically material app, bracket, and bracket, and bracket, and bracket. And then you kind of lost within the bracketing thing. So the next one is bracket. Yeah. Now there are two versions of it. Yeah, the first one is okay. It was done before. So use the second one, bracket pair colorizer 2. And what it does is basically whenever you are in the code, so let's say it's a screen, and then in the screen you have the chat screen. It actually says that's my bracket, and then it gives you a guideline on where the bracket starts and where it ends. So a very useful tool, especially when you're doing Flutter development, yeah, because it has lots of brackets, and then you're like kind of lost. Where is my bracket starting and closing? Other one I would like to talk about is this image preview. So I was kind of frustrated because Android Studio and so Android Studio has this feature. And I was like, okay, I need this where whenever I'm adding an image, I need to see what image was it, or was it even added? Yeah. So I said, okay, I need to find, and there was an extension for that. And what it does is basically, if you have an image somewhere in the screen, let me see if I have somewhere. It actually shows you a preview of the image. think I could have one in my constants. Nope. Let me see if I have a name for my asset somewhere. Assets has a user, so let's find a user underscore place. So if you look at this out of the box, Visual Studio does not show this path, whether it exists or not. But if you have that image preview widget, you can actually see the image next in the gutter. And also when you mouse over it, you can actually see the image there too. The other one I would like to bring into attention is the color highlight. Yeah. So what this one does is, again, this is there in Android Studio. Is if you have a piece of code where you are actually using a hex color. Yeah. So if you guys were following me last time, we had an app constants file where I was actually defining all my theme colors. Yeah. So if you are using the color highlight extension, you basically see how the color looks like and actually shows you what it represents. So it says white, red, and so and so and so. So very useful widget, a very useful extension for you guys to basically quickly see what color it's going to be. The most important one, which I really liked, is again from our good friend Jeroen, pub Spec Assist. So in Flutter, we do a lot of we bring in a lot of stuff from external libraries, like from pub. So we go in, we say, okay, we need to add a new dependency, and in this case it was Firestore. So what you go is basically you go to pub.dev, look for Firestore, you come back, and then you install it. And just to give an example, I will go to pub.dev and says I need a new extension for image, or let's use Cloud Firestore, and then it basically shows, okay, this is how you install it. Yeah. So if you had installed pubspec.assist, yeah, you do Control-Shift-P, it brings in the command. Yeah, so either that or basically go in and view command palette, and then you say pubspec assist. Yeah, and then in here I will say, can you find me this dependency? So it will go in and find this dependency for me. Yeah. So if I say I do not have the block dependency, let's see, BLOC, enter, it will give me options, what all block. So let's say I want to add this block provider, and it will automatically add that to that. So I use this a lot, and then people are like, what are you doing there? And it looks like a bit more magical. So definitely one very good one, which actually brings in all the dependencies from pub.dev. The next one is it's an interesting one. I kind of like it. It's just someone showed it to me as I use it. It's advanced new file. And what it does is basically we create a lot of files, and to create a lot of files in Visual Studio, you have to do right click, create a new file, and so and so. So it's an easy way to create a file in Visual Studio. What you do is basically you do Control and Alt and N. And then it says, okay, what do you want to do? So if you can see, it actually prompt a new path. And let's say in my folder, I didn't had, I don't have a block folder. So I'll create a block folder. And then I will say user auth. So what it will do is it will automatically create me a folder, a block folder, and it will automatically create the file for me. And then you can basically use the STL And then that basically gives you the entire code for the block or whatever you want to do. So it's an easy way to, rather than going in here and clicking around, you kind of don't want to move your hands away from the keyboard. So you just basically do Control Alt and N and can create a new file in whatever folder you want. So another good extension. The next one was something which, especially when we are working in Europe, where we want to build an app that is multilingual. Is this one, yeah? VS Code Flutter I18 JSON. And it was an interesting find for me because I was trying to figure out an easy way to create translations for my app. And again, go to extension, VS Code Flutter I18.json. And what it gives you is basically, it gives you a binding between your Flutter app and the JSON. So you used a translation engine within Flutter to get this. And after you install it, what you can do is you can do Flutter I18.initialize. Yeah. So again, Control-Shift-P, and then that. It will initialize a JSON file. So when you do that, it says, okay, which language do you want the locale to be? It can be DA/DK or EN/US. Once you've done that, it will automatically create this folder for you. Yeah. So I18, and in this case, EN/US. Yeah. Once you have done that, what you can then do is basically you can do a JSON update. So any changes you are adding to the translation. So let's say I went into the translation file. So it came empty. And I can say, okay, I would like to translate, I don't know, login or buy. To buy. So that's what I would like to do. And then you can start using the translation. Yeah. So going back, so you have a text and the text representation of how do you want to use it. And then what you do is basically you go to your main.dot. In my case, it is in main.dot. It's the same application we were actually using last time. And there you says, okay, I want to use the localization. And I'm using the I18n. And the I18n is basically, yep. So final I18n delegate. And then I'm going to explain you guys this later. And then I just want to make sure that I use these locales. Yeah. And this locales is coming from the locales within the files that we generated. So if you look at the path of this one, this is in my generated code here, over here. And I added a new language. The language was Danish. So EN/US and then EN/DK. Yeah. So let's just go and add EN/DK. Okay, add locale. And I think it's DA-DK. If I'm not wrong. So if I go back, it created a new one and it is DA/DK. Yeah. It's empty, so it does not understand what this means. Yeah, it just created a new file for Danish. So it explains this better over here. So if you want to, you can actually use Google Translate and generate an API code from Google Translate console.developer.com.google Translate. After you generate that API key, you basically copy the key and then you run this command, Flutter I18 JSON create automatic translation. Yeah. And it will use that API and generate you the locale file with translation. Yeah. Okay, my API key is not set, so I will have to go back and get the API key again. And if I still have it, yes, I still have it. I will do it quickly so you guys don't know my API key. Yep, it's there. And now I go back and run the generate from that. And if I go back here, I may see, yeah, hey name. Yeah, so it actually did the translation for me. So this is how you can actually start creating your translation and use it in the app. I did, because I did this demo, I kind of almost overwrote the thing which I already had. So I had like the welcome screen. On the welcome screen, I had a text. So I was trying to show like how can I show the same text in English and Danish. So in here, I'm using I18 dot context of welcome. Right now, I don't have welcome. I can go back and create welcome, but don't want to spend this time doing this. Yeah, so basically, you can create another one. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. So the next two tools are just quick ones. I use error lens. This is something which someone actually showed me, that if you have an error, instead of looking through the error window, you can literally have the same thing highlighted on within your Visual Studio Code in the same file. And then the next bit is basically if you have a lot of to-dos and you're working in a team, you can basically install to-do tree, where you can just click on the tree that shows all the to-dos and any fix me's or any comments that you added in one go. Yeah. So these are kind of additional bonus tools which I kind of use for my Flutter development. Just wanted to remind you that this is the link which I shared last time. So everything which we did last time is all online. You can actually use the Marcus ng.com courses, where he's actually doing some courses for $10 a month. If you want to enhance your learning. There is a new initiative from Google. If you want to learn Flutter, they have announced 3-month free Flutter introductory course within this link. It's on medium.com, Flutter, learn Flutter for free. Definitely search for that. And this is what we have been doing. So again, I'll share the slides so you have the links for everything that we have done last time to build a chat app. That's a wrap from me. Definitely go and learn Flutter. If you are still doing it, this course from Angela is very good. And then, as I said, there's a $10 per month access subscription